Hi, I'm Ron Jones. I'm going to demonstrate a really important stretch that I've been doing for over a decade with people. It's the simple but elusive calf stretch. And I say elusive because nearly everyone that I show how to do this will need a little bit of help getting the most out of the movement because their alignment with the foot is a little bit off. So I want to make a couple comments about the calf and the Achilles on the back side of your lower leg. Some people call the calf muscle the second heart because it's so important to circulation. So while we're stretching the Achilles tendon that can be tight with many people, we're also contracting that muscle and we're squeezing this blood up against gravity out of the lower body back up into the heart and the lungs. And there are one-way check valves in those lower legs, and the blood's going to squeeze back up one check valve at a time, and it only happens when you contract your calf muscles. So a lot of times people can have a stroke maybe after a long period of sitting, like a long plane flight or Super Bowl Sunday, because they're not squeezing those lower leg muscles. So we will stretch out the Achilles, but just know there's more benefits to working the calves than just range of motion or flexibility. The other thing I want to mention about the Achilles tendon is that most people are going to have some degree of shortened Achilles tendon because almost all shoes have some kind of a heel lift on them. And so if you think about the high end of this, if you were on stiletto high heels, you'd be walking around with the back side of your leg always short. And in fact, some women I've worked with that have been wearing high heels for years can't put their heels in the ground barefoot because they're just so locked up in the back side of their legs. It's not good from a gait quality standpoint. That Achilles tendon and the back of your leg is really important for efficiency of gait when you're walking. So let's work on getting your gait efficient and getting nice range of motion and flexibility on the back side of the lower leg with this very, very simple stretch. And so the idea is to take a split step out, right? And what I want to do is get my feet far enough apart so I feel a stretch in the back foot or back heel. So for me, I have to get a fairly large step. And I'm going to look at my back foot because even for me, it kind of feels straight, but when I look down there, it's turning out a little bit. And almost everyone I work with, even after I show them this and I tell them, when I look over, they're rotating out from the hip and their foot's pointing sideways, which takes the stretch or removes a lot of the stretch from the Achilles tendon. We want to get the most out of the movement as possible. So take your heel and push it out, and basically you're bringing your foot back around like this. So I'm taking my heel out. I'm going to use my eyes to check because it's really hard to feel this. You'll feel like you're pigeon-toed, but in reality you're probably still rotating out. So I've got a pretty nice angle there. I adjusted my stride length a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and push my heel into the ground. So what this should feel like is a rubber band stretching out to the end and gently snapping back. Not stretching to the point where you're going to tear something. This is a very gentle stretch. It should feel really good, and it's very restorative, okay? So usually about 10 repetitions is pretty good. You can go more if you want. Now what often happens too when I see people do this is they start in the right position, but because they're so tight in their calves and Achilles tendons, what happens is they go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and by the end they're rotating out 30 or 45 degrees. And so be really mindful where that foot is so you can really stretch what you're targeting to stretch, which is the back side of your lower leg. And so from the side, so you can see this amount of separation here. It might take a little finagling around to figure out how far back that foot needs to be to kind of test the stretch. Okay, I feel like I've got it now. And now I'm going to look, adjust my foot, and work the back foot and calf. So I want you to look at my front foot for a minute because we're not supposed to really be doing anything with it. So there's a little bit of a knee movement here, but oftentimes when I see people doing this, they're doing some weird stuff with the front, and sometimes even thinking they're supposed to be stretching the front, like maybe pushing in and out like this. The foot, ankle, calf we're working is the one behind the hips. And remember to keep the foot in alignment instead of rotating out as we go, and now I'm not really stretching what I am supposed to be stretching. So that's the standing version of the calf stretch. There's also a nice floor version that I'll demonstrate in another video. For some people, they need a little bit more, and I'll have them try the floor stretch, and then that oftentimes is what they needed. There's also trigger point release with various rolling tools or hands-on massage therapy. There's all kinds of ways to get the backside of lower legs to release. One final point I want to mention, there's also a condition called Tendon Guard Reflex, and that can manifest under psychological stress. So sometimes when people are stressed out, they can get extremely tight in their low back, hamstrings, and the backs of their lower legs, just from a mental type condition. So this also has a relaxation component as we're going through that to help relieve tendon guard reflex. So if you want to look at a really valuable stretch to do, a standing calf stretch is pretty gentle but extremely beneficial on quite a few different levels, okay? So I hope you enjoy that and you get some benefit.